Hey everyone, welcome to my ranking of every single machine in the Horizon universe as of the Burning Shores. Just a quick disclaimer, this is not going to be an objective ranking in any way, just going to be based on my opinions and how I feel when I run into one of these guys in the wilds. Before we get started, please comment down below what your favorite machine is. I'd love to see how our rankings compare once we're all done. So without further ado, let's get started with the Behemoth. Don't have super strong feelings about the Behemoth. I like that it has a very clear role in the Zero Dawn ecosystem with that it carries cargo and whatnot. I'm just going to put it in beta for now. It'll probably be high beta by the end of it. I think all the heavyweight machines are going to be ranked higher just because they're a bit more interesting. But yeah, no strong feelings. Also, I haven't prepped for this at all. I have no idea where things are going to go, so bear with me. Bellowbacks are good. Our first major boss after the Sawtooth, because you fight that one in Cauldron Sigma. And they're always a fun fact just because you can go for those big sacks. Except for the fact that in Forbidden West, you got to go for the sack webbing, which makes fighting these a little bit more annoying. So I'm going to put that below the Behemoth right now. Also, I'm a bit sick, so sorry about the scratchy voice, but moving on, we got the Bile Gut, the only significant new heavy machine that we get from the Burning Shores, other than the Horus. I really love the Bile Gut. It's got a really great design based on, of course, a frog. All of the leaping that it does, the really cool attack that it can do when it coats its tongue with adhesive and steals Aloy's resources. Also, just the whole way that it coexists with the Sting Spawn and the idea that it collects scrap through the Sting Spawn. Really cool. I love it so much. Don't think it's going to make it into Omega, but definitely going to be a high alpha for me. Fighting it is always a blast. Bristlebacks are fine. They're very cute. I love riding them. They make fun sounds. I love how Aloy rolls onto her back to get onto one. I think it's going to go into to low beta. No strong feelings there. Broadhead. Okay, this is the first of the three variations of the Strider, the original mounts from Zero Dawn. I think what I'm going to do for these is just rank them in the order of how interesting they are and how their level scales. So it goes Strider, Broadhead, and then of course Charger. I feel bad putting them in Gamma because they are really important in that first game, of course, but I've never felt super strongly about them, and I don't use mounts that much anyways, other than, of course, the Sunwing. But yeah, I think I'm going to put them in Gamma, and I'm just going to get them all out of the way right now. So let's grab the Charger right there. Charger is my favorite, of course, and the Strider right there. I do miss Broadheads and Striders. It's been nice playing Zero Dawn and seeing them again, but there you go. Burrowers, aka the more interesting Watchers. I do say that, but I think Watchers just have a special place in my heart, right? More so than the Burrowers, but they are very cute, and that cuteness is going to bring them up into beta, I believe. I think I'm going to even put them above the Bristlebacks. They were a great addition to the game as kind of like an all-terrain small machine. They can burrow, they can go underwater, and of course they are land-based, and they're so freaking darn cute. I've seen some amazing art of Burrowers online, and that's going to land them a spot in beta, I think. All right, Clamberjaws. I know that's a bit of a touchy subject in the community. They're very annoying and they get a lot of hate, but I will say when Gorilla did the photo mode challenge based on the Clamberjaws, I spent a lot of time just watching them, observing them, trying to get some good shots, and they've got some really great animations and they have a lot of character, a lot of life, and I kind of like them now. Still don't love fighting them, but it definitely boosted them up in my opinion. I think I'm going to even put them above Bellowbacks just because of that character that they have, and it's just, you know, they're exciting. I'll say that they're exciting and they got a lot going for them, so I'll put the Clamberjaws in beta. I don't know if how do you guys feel about Clamberjaws? Let me know. Okay, Claw Striders. Again, I don't use mounts that much. I feel like my ranking of them would be a bit higher if I did. I definitely like the design of the original Claw Strider more than the elemental Claw Striders, just because they're a bit more like pointy and more menacing, I think. So I'm gonna put the elemental Clamberjaw in. I like them better than the Bristlebacks though, so I'm gonna put them there. But the actual Clamberjaw, you know what? I'm thinking about how much they were like part of the tease for Forbidden West. They were one of the first new machines we got. I think I might put it in low alpha for now. They are kind of iconic in that sense, right? And they featured a lot in the comics. I'm gonna leave them there for now. I might move them down later on. We'll see. Corruptors though, okay. You guys know how much I love Corruptors. They have one of the best combat tracks in the game, Force Multiplication, and they are such a driving force in the original story of Zero Dawn that they just have such a great presence. And I love that they came back in Burning Shores. Easy alpha clearance for me. I'm gonna put them above the Bile Guts too. Fighting them is such a joy. They got some really great jumping animations. The tail, super menacing. I love Corruptors. Deathbringers though. Look, so Deathbringers are supposed to be the next level up from Corruptors, but I find their fights a lot less dynamic, a lot less fun. They're meant to be mobile weapons platforms, and that's what they are. They kind of just stand there and shoot at you. So I'm gonna put them in beta, I think. You know what? I'm gonna put them below the Bristlebacks. I don't actually love Deathbringers that much. The boss fight in Zero Dawn was a little bit disappointing as well. I know we all feel the same way, so that feels okay. Dreadwings. Dreadwings really grew on me. I really love fighting them now just because of how many components they have on them. They got the stealth generator, which makes them only one of 2 machines that can go invisible. And of course, the detachable bomb launchers, which ton of fun to use. And don't want to make the comparison to the Stormbird quite yet because that's further down the list, but their fights are kind of way more fun than Stormbirds. I really don't like fighting Stormbirds. And so in terms of the big heavyweight bird machines, I think Dreadwings win out for me. So I'm going to put them in alpha clearance below Bile Guts. I think I like Bile Guts a little bit more. Is that a Fanghorn? Yes, Fanghorn. Fanghorns, Lancehorn, Grazers, they're kind of all the same in my head and kind of fall into the same boat as the 3 horse machines as a result. So I'm gonna put them there as well. Below or above the horses though? I'm gonna put them below. There's just so many of them, and you get to a point in the game where when you run into them, you kind of just want to keep going. They're just kind of annoying at that point. They're never like the star of a fight, so I feel okay putting them in Gamma. All right, we've got our Frozen Wilds bear machines. Funny that they both line up alphabetically like that. As of recording right now, the most recent thing that I've put out was my revisit to the finale of the Frozen Wilds, and it reminded me just how impactful that Fireclaw fight is. It's incredible. I mean, like I said, we were all a little bit disappointed with the Deathclaw fight in Zero Dawn, and so Guerrilla delivered with one of the best boss fights with the Fireclaw. What an intimidating machine. I mean, seeing one of those, even now, I have to just get into the right headspace to fight them because they are so dangerous, so powerful, the way they can just throw themselves at you. I think the Fireclaw is our first Omega machine, easily. A lot of similar feelings with the Frostclaw. They're always a ton of fun to fight, but I think my opinion of them has been tainted a little bit by Forbidden West because, hear me out, getting that sack webbing, some reason is more challenging for me on the Frostclaw than the Fireclaw, and I think a part of that is the fact that the main Frostclaw fight site in Forbidden West is that one with the Fireclaw Striders, and it just gets so hectic all the time. I hate farming them, so it's a silly reason, but I'm just gonna put the Frostclaw at the bottom of alpha clearance. Still love them to death, but yeah. Glintox, the original Clamberjaw. Unfortunately for Glintox, they did not grow on me as much as the Clamberjaws did. They got a little bit of redemption arc in that in Forbidden West, they became so easy to take down. They're still gonna go into Gamma. I'm sorry, guys. Glintox, right? Grazers? Yes, those are Grazers. I'm just gonna put them with the Fanghorns. I've already explained how I feel about them. Is that the Plowhorn or the Grimhorn? That would be the Grimhorn. Okay, so the Grimhorns, we don't see them a ton in Forbidden West, which is my main gripe with them. I wish we had a dedicated Grimhorn site in the game because I do actually love fighting them. They really are like mini Thunderjaws. They got 2 bomb cluster launchers on their backs, and I love how they play a role in the story in that it's a visual representation of how Hephaestus is upgrading these machines and making them more deadly. So I'm gonna put them in beta. I'm gonna put them right below the Behemoth. Yeah, below the Behemoth. I think it would be higher if we could fight them more in the game. And I know you can refight them with the arena, but that doesn't really count, so. Oh boy, okay, the Horus. Now, before Burning Shores, I would have still ranked the Horus pretty high, just because of the weight that they have in the world. I mean, you start the game off, and one of the first things that you see in the Sacred Lands is that giant metal devil looming above the Nora Mountain. But I mean, now with the Burning Shores, guys, I mean, come on, right? It's gonna go in Omega clearance. That boss fight I said the same thing about the Fireclaw, but I think the Horus boss fight is probably my favorite boss fight in any game ever. It was so well executed, and you know that we've been waiting for it for such a long time, and Guerrilla delivered. And again, just they carry such weight in the world and the lore and what happened in Enduring Victory. And in those aerial, what were they called? Aerial captures in Burning Shores, those images of them fighting in Los Angeles, it's just, they are terrifying, and I love them for it. I think I'm gonna leave them at the bottom of Omega though, just because they are kind of a special case. They aren't like any of the other machines in the game, and so they belong in Omega. I'm just gonna leave them at the bottom. Lance Horns, yep, they are gonna go right there. You know what? No, just because I like Chillwater, I'm gonna put them above the Fire Fang Horns. Fight me on it. Our favorite kangaroo boys. I love Leap Lashers so much. Easy alpha for me. I'm gonna put them right above the Claw Strider. I don't know if they deserve this spot, but I was so inspired by their design, the way they jump just like a kangaroo, and their really cool attacks with their tail and how they throw their cargo sack at you. It's great. I really love Leap Lashers. Kind of sad that you don't see them as often as you get into the later game, but makes sense. They're a bit more of a low level enemy. But yeah, I'm gonna leave them in alpha clearance. Long Legs. I have very distinct memories of fighting that first Longleg in Zero Dawn during that quest with the caravan. I had such a hard time with it. It kept killing me, and so in my head I always have that Longlegs are like a force to be reckoned with, when really you just shoot the sack, it blows up, they die. I still love Longlegs though. I'm gonna put them at bottom of alpha. Oh, but do I love them more than a Behemoth? I'm using the Behemoth as kind of like my stepping stone into alpha. No, I do love Longlegs though, so they're still gonna go above the Grimhorn. That feels right, yeah. Plowhorns. I think I'm gonna group them with the Grimhorn. Again, they are kind of the same machine, but I do love that the way that they play that role in the story as the land gods for the Utaru, and how they're evolved into the Grimhorns to demonstrate Hephaestus' evolution. Oh, but you know what? There is that one really great quest where you bring Plainsong back to life with the Plowhorns and they start singing. I'm gonna move them to alpha. Also, they have a really unique ability and effect when you shoot their, I don't know what it's called, but it's like their vegetation sac, and it breaks open and it covers them in vines. Really neat detail that's unique to them, so I'm gonna leave them in alpha. I like Plowhorns. The Ravager, basically a sawtooth with a gun. Always a fun fight. I like how accessible the Ravager cannon is off of its back. Always the first thing that you go for. It did get debuffed quite a bit in Forbidden West, but the machine itself, no strong feelings. I'm gonna put it in beta, underneath the Grimhorn, I think. That feels okay. Yeah. The Rockbreaker, aka the heart attack that we all felt in Cutcliffs back in Zero Dawn. Really fun machine, the original burrowing machine in Zero Dawn as well. The fight was a little annoying, but you know, in hindsight, now that we have all the burrowing machines in Forbidden West, not that annoying. So I'm gonna put it in either high beta or low alpha. I'm gonna put it in low alpha for now. You don't see them that often in Forbidden West. They're really just in the Still Sands. And in Zero Dawn too, once you finish the story, they just have that one site. But you know what, they're still fun. Again, original burrowing machine, I'm gonna leave them in alpha. Rollerbacks. Rollerbacks are weird because they have such a great design. They're really dynamic. The way that they just jump and, of course, as their name implies, roll around and swing their tail at you. Always really energetic fights. And yet, I feel like they were kind of forgotten by Forbidden West. The only quest that I can think of off the top of my head that featured a rollerback was the one where you repair the arena ballista. There probably are more, but I'm forgetting them. So yeah, I feel like they weren't featured enough, and I feel like if they had a bit more of a prominent role, they'd be higher on this list. So I'm gonna put them in right below the Behemoth. They're really cool. They're fun to fight. Great design based on the Armadillo, I assume. Might move it up higher later on, but for now I'm gonna leave it there. The Sawtooth. So the Sawtooth got left behind, of course. I really miss them, and it's been fun to revisit them in my Zero Dawn playthrough again. But the Sawtooth, I'm gonna rank in alpha. I feel the same way about Sawtooths that I do with Claw Striders, in that they're more iconic in my head than actually fun to fight. I mean, come on, the Sawtooth was our first boss fight in Zero Dawn. The first time that you're like, oh my gosh, we're actually taking on these giant machines that are stories tall. I mean, it was super intimidating. It's always funny to think back to that fight because at that point in the game, they are a really tough fight. And then near the end of it, you're taking on Slaughter Spines, Thunderjaw's Horuses, but they are the original boss fight. I'm going to put them in alpha clearance just for that. Scorchers. I mean, come on. That first Scorcher at the start of Frozen Wilds, that probably killed all of us on our first attempt. They are so fun, so deadly. That one charge up attack they have where they just throw themselves at you, that sound effect lives rent-free in my head. I love them so much. Such a great design. I'm going to put them high alpha, I think. The Frozen Wilds machines were just incredible. I wish we would have gotten a little bit more of the Burning Shores, but then again, we got the Horus, so can't complain. Scrappers! I feel bad putting all of the little basic minion machines in gamma clearance, but like, they just don't got as much going on for them. And whenever you run into them, it's kind of more of an annoyance, like, okay, let's just take care of them. Usually they're surrounded by a more interesting machine to fight. So I'm going to put both the Scrapper and the Scrounger there. Scroungers are basically Scrappers with a couple of bit more spark-based attacks, I believe, whereas the Scrappers are more plasma-based, at least in Forbidden West. Shell Snappers, oh my god. Shell Snappers, that first one you fight with Talana, holy shit. They are a little annoying to fight sometimes because of that one burrowing attack they have, but if it weren't for that one burrowing attack, they're really cool. I mean, come on, they are Blastoise and they have Hyper Beam, a really, really scary Hyper Beam attack. And I love that their fights kind of come down to you trying to rip their shell off to try and expose that one big weak point core. I'm going to put them in alpha, but probably low alpha. Above the Plowhorn for sure. I'm going to put them above the Frostclaw, I think. Yeah, that feels right. Ugh, Shell Walkers. They are such good boys. They have so much personality, so much character. I love running into them into the game. And like the Behemoths, I love that they have a very visible role in the Zero Dawn system in that they have they're cargo carriers for the machines. And I really love that if you shoot off their cargo holders, they'll go back and pick up the cargo and just hold it on them with a hand because they just want to do a good job. They're such good boys. I'm going to put them with the Leap Lasher, I think, just because in my head, they serve a similar role of very fun, cute machines to run into. I don't know if that makes sense. They're just, I love those machines. They're really well designed. Skydrifters. I appreciate Skydrifters because they're in my head, they're like Glinthawks, but not so annoying. I think a big part of that is because they land more often and they got a bit more variety to their attacks. So I'm going to put Skydrifters at high gamma, I think. High gamma, maybe even low beta, but nah, I'm going to leave them in gamma. Slaughter Spines. That is going to be an easy alpha. I'm gonna put it right here, I think. Yeah, they are just so terrifying. I still regularly die to Apex Slaughter Spines. They feel like Thunderjaws, more streamlined for death. And I mean, the charge up animation and how it syncs to Built to Kill, one of the best combat tracks. They are always such a fun fight. They have a ton of different weapons that you can tear off, although mind you, they're not very good. And just the way that they exude that plasma, they are just like these huge reactors that are built to stomp you, and they are incredible. Well done, Gorilla. They are one of the best machines. I honestly think that, not just because of how deadly they are. They're just, yeah, Slaughter Spines. Slaughter Spines. And then we have Slither Fangs, another iconic machine from the West. I think I remember hearing from a dev that they were the most challenging machine to implement just because of how unique their buildup is and their movement especially, but they killed it. These machines are so deadly, so scary, and they just fit the environments of the West, the desert, so well. They did such a good job. I have to put it in Omega just because of how impressive their implementation and how fun their fights are. Yeah, I'm going to put it in low Omega, I think. Snapmaws, the original aquatic machine. I feel like that warrants some points for them just to begin with. It's also cool that, and I think in Zero Dawn, they're the only machine to actually feature solar panels as well, which you'd think more machines would have. But it's always fun to see them kind of just lounging in the water, collecting that sun. And their attacks are also super deadly. That jump and snap at you is pretty impressive. So I think I'm going to put them in high beta. below the Rollerback, I think. Yeah, that works for me. Our Zenith boys, the Spectre and Spectre Prime. Unlike anything else in the game, very alien in the literal sense and just how they're designed. Their fast movement, their sleek design, their use of nanotechnology, which isn't really something you see much in these fights. They're really cool. They did a great job with the design. My only nitpick with them is that they get a bit repetitive, especially during that last quest where you fight like 8 specters one by one, and I get it, they are called the Spectre drone. The idea is that they are these mass-produced reusable things that the Zeniths just throw at you. I'm gonna put them in beta, I think. I want to put them higher, but I don't know, there's just something missing with me there. Let's put them, I'm gonna put them above the Grimhorn though. They're still super unique, and the first time that you see them in Letopolis and you have no idea what's going on, really intimidating. Spectre Prime, I applaud Gorilla for giving us a unique machine for the boss fight of Forbidden West, but I don't know, it just wasn't super memorable in my mind, and part of that might be because, and you can see it in my playthrough, I accidentally just brittle blasted this thing all to hell, and the fight was really short-lived as a result. But they've got a lot of really great attack patterns, honestly. They've got a lot behind them, and the fact also that it's an exoskeleton, it's the only machine that has someone in it. It's pretty neat, so I'm going to put them above the normal Spectre. Right there. No, above. Thank you. Spike Snouts. I don't have a lot of feeling about Spike Snouts. Honestly, one of the more forgettable machines in Forbidden West, which is too bad because they're actually unique in the sense that they're the only machine dedicated to buffing and debuffing, so that gives them a few extra points, I think. I'll put them below the Deathbringer. They deserve to be in beta just because they have that more unique role. Speaking of unique though, we have the Stalker. Back in Zero Dawn, the only machine that could go invisible. There's still only 2 that can do it in Forbidden West, and they are unlike anything else you fight in the game. Also, I believe in Zero Dawn, the only machines that have that black armor before we got Apex machines in Forbidden West. So super intimidating. Love that they actually made the Dart Gun usable in Forbidden West as well. I'm gonna put them in Alpha, right above the Sawtooth, yeah. Sting Spawn. I kind of already went over it a little bit with the Bile Gut. I think it's really neat how the Sting Spawn go out, scrap things, and the Bile Gut eats it as a way of processing and getting scrap back to the main machine. Other than that though, they're kind of annoying. I mean, we've all done the fights. There's just 4 Sting Spawn following you at all times. I do like that they gave them that shock weakness and how if you shoot them with shock, it'll actually hurt the nearby ones. I thought that was a really neat and unique mechanic as well. They are gonna go in Gamma though. I'll put them in high Gamma. I feel bad putting them above the horses, but yeah, I think that feels right. Stormbirds, I have conflicted feelings about. They are that one of those iconic poster boy machines for Zero Dawn. They are the flying machine that you think of when you think of the aerial machines, and yet they're not that fun to fight. I mean, they're often high up in the air, which is fine, but they have very few weak points beyond those wing thrusters, which are impossible to hit, and the storm cannon. And honestly, once you remove the storm cannon, all of their electricity-based effects just go away, and so they're down to slamming into you and trying to hit you with their wings. And yeah, I just don't love fighting them that much. Of course, they're still going to make it into Alpha just because of that iconic presence they have, but they're not going to be that high for me. Let me know how you guys feel about Stormbirds in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. Gonna put them between these, yeah. Again, I love the Leap Lasher and the Shellwalker just for their personality, so I'm okay keeping them above the Stormbird. Guys, you already know it's gonna be Omega clearance for the Sunwing. In my head, this is now Aloy's signature machine, her signature companion on her travels. Yeah, thank you Gorilla for giving us such an incredible flying mount and the opportunity to experience the beautiful world that you've crafted from the air. It is just game changing. I didn't actually love Sunwings at first. They had some really cool attack patterns and uses of plasma, but I found the fights a little annoying. But then you get that Sunwing override and they are just your constant companion for the rest of the game. And I love that, I love them. They are happily gonna sit in Omega clearance. And so will the Tallneck. I'm going to put it right above the Sunwing in Omega. They're just so integral to the Horizon world and lore. They embody the mystery and the majesty of the wild so well. It's what else do I have to say, guys? The tall necks are just so incredible. It's always a joy to see them, just because A, they unlock your map, so thanks, and B, just it's always such a fun challenge trying to override them. In Zero Dawn, they were a little bit samey, but in Forbidden West, they did a really good job of making each one feel unique, which I really appreciated. And also, bonus points, they're the only machine that won't immediately try to kill you, so thanks, buddy. The Thunderjaw, the iconic Horizon machine. It's on the Zero Dawn box art. I mean, it is the original big badass dinosaur fight, and even now in Forbidden West, it still holds up. There's so many different ways you can go about fighting one. You've got the disc launchers, all the different canisters, the weak points. It is just always such a joy to fight, and again, it is the poster boy machine for Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. I gotta put it right here. I mean, it deserves it. Oh, the Tide Ripper. Okay, I have said this on my streams and videos before. I think the Tide Ripper is my personal favorite machine. I'm gonna put it there. I'm gonna put it there. I mean, it is the boss fight for my favorite quest in either game. It has probably one of my favorite boss fight themes, like music tracks as well, if not my favorite. And they've got so much personality with their attacks, the way they kind of just jump and flop onto you. They're also really fun to fight for me because they're weak to frost and shock, and so there's a lot of different ways you go about fighting them. I don't know. I can't explain it. I just love them so much. From the first time that you see it float above you within Dune Hollow, I was like, oh my god, it's Nessie, and my love for them has not faded since, so I'm gonna leave them up there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about Tide Rippers. They are just an absolute joy and probably my favorite machine in the Horizon universe. Tramplers, my poor forgotten boys. I have this very weird specific memory in Zero Dawn of running through a herd of tramplers, and since they were weak to frost, just slinging frost bombs at them and taking them down. And for some reason, ever since then, I've really liked fighting them, and they are pretty cool. They have that seed processor underneath them, or it's some kind of processor that you can destroy to just set them aflame. They've got some pretty neat attack patterns as well, how they kind of ram at you and leave this trail of fire behind them. I actually really liked Tramplers and was shocked that they got forgotten in Forbidden West, so I'm going to put them in low beta, I think is fair. I'm going to put them right there beneath Burrowers. Tremor Tusk, as Aaron says in that quest that isn't actually in the game, Tremor Tusk! It is the hero machine, I think I've heard Gorilla say, of Forbidden West, so kind of equivalent to the Thunderjaw in that sense. I don't know if I feel strongly enough about them to put them in Omega. See, so in that trailer that I mentioned with Aaron, where we had the fight with the Tremor Tusk, the Rebel Tremor Tusk, I was really excited because of the fact that it was the Rebel Tremor Tusk, this big massive platform that the rebels were riding, and then you only fight one of them in Forbidden West, which I still think is one of the weirdest things, how you fight that one in Broken Sky and you see them again at the end of the game, but you don't actually fight anymore. So I don't know what happened there, and that's always left a little bit of a salty taste in my mouth for Tremor Tusks. They're fun to fight though. They're a great way to farm for shards. They're my main go-to way to farm for shards. So I'm gonna put them in, I'll put them right there. Yeah, that feels right. Watchers and Red Eye Watchers. This is gonna be a bit of a weird one. Bear with me. Watchers, original machine, the first one you see in Zero Dawn up close. And for that alone, just of how iconic they are, I'm gonna put them in alpha. Red Eye Watchers though, not even ZD personnel. I have such an unreasonable hate for them. Just because whenever I see them, I'm like, ah, it's a Watcher, I can take them out. And so I shoot them a couple times and I'm like, why aren't they dying? They're just Watchers, they're still not dying. And I always think I can take them down quickly, and then they don't die quickly and they hit me a couple times. They always seem to be right there when I'm trying to kill that Slaughter Spine, and they hit me with their tail and then the Slaughter Spine murders me. I don't like Red Eye Watchers that much, and I'm gonna put them in not even ZD personnel. I don't feel bad about that. Waterwings. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of conflicted responses to Waterwings online because they feel a little recycled from Sunwings, but I understand it. I mean, I didn't expect Gorilla to completely reinvent the flying with a different mount. It makes total sense that they'd reuse animations. And you know what? When you're fighting them, they do feel different enough from Sunwings. They've got a lot of very different attack patterns. They are so much more aggressive, to the point where I feel like they are too aggressive. I mean, their health pools are massive. I truly think fighting a flock of 3 to 4 waterwings, with some of them being Apex, is probably the hardest fight in the game. Like, I would rather fight an Apex Slaughter Spine than a couple Apex Waterwings, and they just drain you of resources trying to fight them. But putting that aside, they are incredible in that they are the only aquatic mount also, and the fact that you get the aquatic and sky in the one mount is pretty incredible. Another weird thing about them is, I feel like you guys will agree with me that everyone prefers the Sunwing, and yet by the end of the game, we're only using the water wing, right? I mean, so it's a bit weird. I also don't love the squeaky sounds it makes when it flies. So I'm gonna put it in alpha. I'll put it right above the Scorcher. I think that feels right. And last, but certainly least, Wide Moss. Listen, I have an episode in my original Forbidden West playthrough called I Hate Wide Moss. They don't deserve my hate. They're pretty cool. They've got some unique suction-based attacks. They have those cool metal fertilizer pods they shoot out. Objectively, they don't deserve to be here, and yet, for some unreasonable reason, I don't like Wide Moss. They're the worst. I see them, I want to run away or immediately destroy them. I hate Wide Moss. There you have it. That is my ranking for every single machine in the Horizon universe so far. Who knows, once we get Horizon 3, maybe we will have to revisit this list. But if you guys enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like down below. And if you'd like to see any more Horizon tier lists, let me know in the comments. I'd love to do some more. I had a lot of fun with this one. But on that note, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.